gonna tell you a truth that might make you feel bad about your current situation. But if it does, then it means that you need to hear it more. And it's that speaking with authority, assuming that you know what you're talking about, should feel ridiculously easy, whether you're speaking to a client, a viewer, a prospect, hundreds of people, someone with more experience than you, or even someone with celebrity level status. All you have to do is learn to control your anxiety when you're speaking. And if you can control your anxiety when you're speaking in those scary situations, people will take you more seriously. If you're jumbling your words when you're on an intimidating business call, or if you're afraid of embarrassing yourself when you speak in your content, it's not because you haven't made $10 million yet, or because you're in your 20s, or because you're introverted. It's because you don't know how to turn your anxiety into authority. And once I learned how to do this in my own speech, it completely transformed the way my communication skills are, no matter who it is that I'm speaking to. And it's because I've implemented the lessons from this video to help me overcome anxiety whenever I need to speak on a call, on a YouTube video, and even to perform confidently on stage in front of hundreds of people. And in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how you can do the same, how you can turn your anxiety into authority whenever you need to speak in your own goals and your own ventures. Now, the first step to doing this is cutting out something that might be the root cause of your anxiety and is actually an existential threat to your communication. You see, if you don't understand this and you exhibit this quality in your speech, it's like this invisible stench that is so noticeable whenever you speak. It doesn't matter how good at speaking you are, how experienced you are. If you have this, people will sense it subconsciously and even consciously whenever it is that you have to speak to them, and they'll be repelled by you. And I experienced this, and I learned this the hard way on a sales call that I did when I was first learning business and sales and all of these different things. I had been trying to start this digital marketing agency, and I had no experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I sent out a few cold emails, and I got my first response very, very fast. And I remember I saw the response, and the guy was like, "Nick, this is the best cold email I've ever received. Let's hop on a call." My mind was blown. I was like, no way. And then out of nowhere, all of these thoughts started to come into my head. And I started to think, oh man, this really, really needs to go well, because I felt like I had something to prove. I was like, I have to make this work. This has to go well. The only thing is, oh man, the imposter syndrome started to kick in. I started to feel inadequate. I was like, why am I doing this? How am I going to do this? I'm introverted. I can't do sales. What is this? So I have all of these thoughts. The biggest thing is that need to prove something, that need to get money from them. And I hop on this call, and it starts off pretty bad. Like, I didn't want to turn off his camera, but it's whatever. I can still bounce back from that. But I remember he started giving me objections, especially after I did the pitch, because I didn't know what I was doing, especially. And he's like, why do people keep pitching this to me? People keep bringing this up. And I start getting defensive. And I'm like, oh no, well, it's because it's actually really, really good. You know, you should try this and everything like that. He's like, well, we don't even know who you are. And I'm like, well, I can, let me explain. And then the whole thing just went down the drain. And from there, I learned a very important lesson about communication. And it's that you should never, ever be needy whenever you're in a conversation, whenever you're trying to sell someone something, whenever you're making a YouTube video, whenever you have to talk to literally anybody. If you're needy, you will repel people from you. Why? Because no one likes being around a needy person. Think about it. Imagine if you're around someone and they're like breathing down your neck because they want something from you 24/7. That's the kind of energy that you emit when you're needy. But if you're non-needy and you're going into an interaction, say for example, we'll just keep using the example of sales. So you go into this interaction and you're like, I don't need this to work. If it does, great, I make money. If it doesn't, fine, I learn something. But either way, I don't care about the outcome. I just want to do my very best on this call. What's gonna happen is that suddenly, even though you need it less, you're gonna be so much more charismatic on the call, and probably even more likely to secure whatever it is that you're trying to gain. So in this case, it could be money, that sale, whatever it is. So you need to make sure that you look deep into the interactions that you're having, going like, am I being needy here? If I go up and talk to a person, do I need something from them? Am I trying my best to be their friend? Or am I trying my best to squeeze as much money out of them? Or if I'm recording a YouTube video, am I trying my best to squeeze as much money as I can out of this viewer, squeeze as much retention as I can, whatever it is. If you're outcome independent in these situations and you go like, you know what, it's fine, I'm gonna put my best foot forward, I'm gonna give as much value, then people will be so much more attracted to you. And what does this actually do for your anxiety? For your anxiety, because you're not so worried about whether or not you're gonna get the thing or get the thing from this person, you become a lot less nervous because it's completely fine how it goes. This is something that, I don't know, rich people like to talk about. They say the law of detachment. I think that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of these new age people, but I know that being detached from the outcome in a situation is one of the most effective ways to get rid of your anxiety, because who cares how it goes? It's a win-win for you either way. Or even if it isn't a win-win for you, even if it's a win-lose, it's fine because you'll survive. You know that by the end of this interaction, you're going to be alive, you're going to be okay. So if you implement non-neediness into your next conversation, into your next sales call, into your next video recording, into your next speech that you have, you don't need the audience's validation, you will be 1,000 times less anxious and you'll be 1,000 times more charismatic. But this isn't just a one-size-fits-all fix, because even if you don't need anything from the people that you're speaking to, sometimes you might still be feeling anxious. But for a lot of people, especially for ambitious people who do need money, for example, for their business, this will be a good fix for them. But what do you do when you still feel that? And you need to do something that a lot of people overlook, because a lot of people do two things. And these two things are what I'm going to say here, but they only do one of the two things. And this is mind and body calming. So they'll either choose just their mind to calm, or they'll choose just their body to calm. And here's why that's an issue. Because when you pick one or the other, it doesn't actually solve the problem effectively. You need to solve both. If your mind is calm, but your body isn't, well, then it's going to make your speech so much worse because you're shaking when you're trying to talk. If your mind is all over the place and you don't know how to control it, but your body is calm, it doesn't matter that your body is calm, because your speech is going to be jumbled and all over the place because you're not going to know how to articulate your thoughts because you're so worried about what the audience thinks about your hair. You see, you need to focus on both, calming both your mind and your body, but you need to do it in the right way in order to get rid of that anxiety. So how exactly do you do that? The first thing is, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to focus on the mind first. I'm going to give you some practical tips there, and I'm going to go to the body so that you know how to actually effectively implement this into your speech so that you can turn that anxiety into authority. And the first thing for controlling the mind is a little story that I like to call the story of Og. So, Og is an ancestor of yours. He is from, I don't know how many years, say tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And Og is a caveman, and the only things that he has to worry about are food, making kids, and surviving, not dying. So, what do you think Og's mind is going to be like? It's probably going to be all over the place because he has so many different things to worry about. He doesn't have civilization. He just has his tribe that he focuses on keeping alive. So Og is going to be worried about the lion that lives a few miles away from them. He's going to be worried about the enemy tribe that's trying to kill them and conquer them and take their resources. He's going to be worried about the fact that he doesn't have shelter that night. He's going to be worried about the fact that he hasn't found food. So he has all of these negative thoughts in his head, everything, and they actually help him to survive, because he's in a pretty ruthless environment. The thing is, Og actually left you a gift, and it's the exact same brain, the exact same style of thinking. You see, your brain has all of these random negative thoughts that hundreds of thousands, actually I'm not sure if humans have been alive for that long, tens of thousands of years ago, would have kept you alive. But survival, at least usually, isn't really an issue if you're a person living in the modern era. So these thoughts end up being a lot more harmful than helpful. So what ends up happening is you have all of these negative thoughts in your head and you don't know how to handle them. And it ends up completely messing up your speech because you randomly get anxious about something. You randomly think something that you said made no sense, even though it did. You randomly are worried about whether or not this sale is going to go through, or whether or not people are going to even listen to what it is that you're saying. And when you have all of these thoughts, it destroys your communication. So the first thing that you need to do is to understand how to control that inner monologue. And how exactly do you control your inner monologue? You need to focus on seeing yourself as the observer of your thoughts and not as the thoughts themselves. Because a lot of people have these crazy negative thoughts from ugh pull up into their head and they don't know how to handle them because they think that those thoughts are them. They think that that's what they're actually thinking. The thing is though, these thoughts are all over the place. Is it really you that's thinking them? Probably not. It's the fact that you're not questioning them that makes them you. But the best thing about this realization, is that it shows that you get to choose who it is that you want to be. You choose which thoughts you want to entertain. You manually choose which thoughts you want to think, which means that you can choose exactly what kind of speaker you want to be no matter what situation you're in. You choose, and that's so much power. So whenever you get all of these crazy thoughts that happen because of your anxiety or whatever, because you're about to go give some speech or you're about to go hop on a call that you're afraid of, notice the thoughts. Feel them coming. Don't beat yourself up for feeling them because everyone feels them. It's normal. Everyone had ugh as their ancestor. But don't see yourself as the thoughts. Just observe them and dismiss them. Just go like, that's just ugh. It's not that serious. Who cares? I'm going to choose what I think. And what I think about this situation is that it's going to be fine. Now, one of the ways that you can also improve this is actually the second point for improving that calmness in your mind. And it's to be fully present. You see, a lot of people, when they speak, and just in general, they're not present. They're thinking about what random thing happened the other day. Or when someone is speaking to them, they're not thinking about what the person is speaking about. They're thinking about what they're going to say next. When you're not present in these situations, it opens you up to a lot more of those negative thoughts, for one. And then two, the quality of your responses is going to just be bad anyway. But on top of that, because you're opening yourself up to these negative thoughts and you're not present and you're not just in the moment and focused in a flow state, focusing on what it is that you're saying and what the other person speaking to you is saying, it makes it so that your speech is way worse just because you're all over the place. But if you're fully present and you can focus on what you're saying, you'll be a lot better. How can you focus on improving your presence in conversation? One of the ways is mindfulness meditation. All you have to do is just for 3 to 5 minutes every single morning, just sit down, set a timer on your phone, and breathe in and out and focus on your breath. And it's completely fine for your mind to wander because the whole point is for you to bring your mind back from wandering. Now, I don't want to keep talking about mindfulness meditation forever because I'm trying to give you speaking skills advice. But if you download an app like Medito or something like that, I'm not sponsored by them, but that's what I use. It helps a lot to be able to help you to stay more present, especially when you do it over time. Because a lot of people will do it once and then they'll go like, well, it didn't work for me because, well, that's because you did it once. But if you do it consistently over time, it will build that skill of being present. Another way to control your mind in these stressful situations is to remember that you're the expert. I remember I learned this from when I was on another call for that business. And I had done this crazy, I don't want to say crazy, but it was a scary outreach email to this person that was, I'll say, celebrity adjacent. He had worked with a lot of celebrities and everything like that. And he actually responded to my email. It was like, sure, let's hop on a call. And I was like, what in the world? I'm just this kid who had no idea what he was doing with business, but I was on this call. And I remember, even though this guy was a millionaire, he made a lot more money than me. And he had a lot of experience, way more experience than me, probably twice my age. He actually didn't know as much about the service that I was offering as I did. And it was this big realization for me. I was like, wait. Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? He could be making so much more money if he did it like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the expert here in this context. Of course, I'm not the expert on everything. He knows way more than I do in other areas. But on the thing that I prepared for, I'm the expert. And when you understand that, it gives you so much power, because if you're making a YouTube video, you don't need to worry about being the most perfect expert. You go like, no, I'm fine because I'm the expert for the person that's a few steps behind me, or I'm the expert in my specific niche or area of expertise. And when you understand that, it takes away anxiety, because you're like, well, I'm the expert. It's fine. Most of the people that I'm speaking to don't even know what it is that I'm saying. They don't understand it. So if I explain it to them in a way that makes sense, then I'm going to seem a lot smarter because I know the information and they don't. So when you see yourself as the expert and not just some guy or some person with imposter syndrome, it goes such a long way for improving your ability to handle anxiety. Now, these tips are just one aspect of improving your communication. So if you're an entrepreneur or content creator who's looking to uncap your income by mastering and perfecting your unique style of speaking that resonates with your ICP or ideal viewer, then check out the link in the description to see how you can do that. Now, the last two tips for controlling and calming your mind actually come from my past performances. I've sang in a performance group for the past few years, and since then I've learned a lot that I've been able to apply into my communication. So the first thing is to treat it like it's just another blank, fill in the blank depending on who you are. You see, when I would go for performances, I would place a lot of weights on each performance because it was a little scary, Singing in front of hundreds of people is pretty scary a lot of the time. And then if I mess up, then my reputation is... So what would I do? The way that I learned to handle it was by taking weight off of it in my head and just going like, it's just another performance. It's just another solo. It's nothing crazy. And when you take that weight that you're putting on it off, it takes away a lot of the anxiety, even if it causes you to need to delude yourself into thinking that it's just another. It goes such a long way. So this is one thing that's helped me to be able to take a lot of that weight off, just because in your head ends up making things a lot worse when you put more weight on it, because your brain doesn't know the difference between an actual life-threatening situation and something that just might maybe hurt your reputation mildly, or maybe might make you miss out on making a little bit of money. So if you implement that, it'll help you to be able to control your anxiety a lot easier. And the last thing is that if you're feeling nervous and your nerves still don't go away after everything, just reframe it as excitement. Because in your head, nerves or nervousness is actually the exact same chemical, because emotions are just chemicals in your head, is the exact same chemical as excitement. So if you delude yourself into thinking that, no, I'm actually really, really excited for this, then it'll show in the way that you perform or that you act and that you speak in those situations. So this is something that I would do in my performances. I would go like, actually, no, I'm not nervous. I'm really, really excited because it's fun. It's fun to perform. Be a little bit grateful for the fact that you get to do whatever it is that you're going to do. You go like, I get to record a YouTube video. I get to go on this business call. I get to be an entrepreneur. I get to go and do this thing. I get to speak in front of hundreds of people. That's awesome. Most people don't do that. Most people are afraid of that. And you get excited, you hype yourself up, you go like, yeah, that's super cool. The more that you tell yourself it, the more that you repeat it over and over and over again throughout the day, throughout the week leading up to it, it'll help you to be able to reduce that anxiety. Even if it's just by a little bit, it'll go such a long way for your speech and for your communication. Now, let's get into how you can calm your body. And I have two big tips. And the first one is something that a lot of people overlook. It's definitely something that you've heard before and you've tried, but it doesn't work because you're going about it wrong. And the way I want to illustrate this is, imagine if you had a friend who was overweight and who was trying to lose weight. And he comes to you and you tell him, or he tells you, hey, I'm trying to lose weight. How do I lose weight? And you go like, you need to eat healthy and you need to go to the gym. So what does your friend do? They go and they eat one apple because they heard it was healthy. And they go to the gym and they do one bench press, just one set. And then they come back, they look in the mirror, they're like, I'm still fat. And they call you and they go like, hey, you lied to me. You said I had to eat healthy and go to the gym. What are you talking about? I'm still overweight. What would you tell that guy? You tell him, no, you have to do it over and over and over again and get better and to be consistent. And then over time, you'll see those results. This is what a lot of people have. This is the exact same mindset that people have when it comes to breathing. Because a lot of you are probably breathing in the wrong way. Even just look how you're breathing right now. Are you taking deep breaths, massive deep breaths that fill your belly fully? Or are you taking shallow breaths? Or are you even taking breaths from your mouth instead of your nose? How exactly are you breathing? Because your power comes from the breath. If you take deep, full breaths, one, it'll make your voice sound better because it's being supported. And then two, it'll calm your body down. It's a way to physically calm your body down. So before you have to go and do some big call or some big speech or something like that, whatever you have to do, you're speaking. If you just take 10 deep breaths before it and genuinely focus on going as deep as you can with these breaths, holding your breath for a few seconds once you finish your inhale and then exhaling slowly, that will go such a long way for you. Especially if you practice breathing fully throughout the day, not just right before it. Because a lot of people aren't doing it consistently. They just take one deep breath. Why am I so nervous? You're like the overweight guy who eats an apple and expects himself to become skinny the next day. It's about doing it consistently and doing it right. So the last thing to improve your body in terms of how calm and collected you can be is to do exercise, but not just exercise. The reason why this hits is because it reduces adrenaline. Because, like we were talking about before, our friend Ugg is in our head, and he thinks that this is a life-threatening situation, whatever situation you have to speak in. So, if instead you're feeling all of that anxiety and that adrenaline that's in your body, and you're shaking, you're nervous, you're having all of these symptoms, if you do a little bit of exercise, so maybe you do a little bit of push-ups right before your speech, or maybe you do a little bit of jogging, or maybe you go to the gym before, like the hour before, and then come up, you'll be a lot more composed because that adrenaline will be used in those exercises, in that aerobic exercise that you're doing, whatever it is. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, just enough to get your heart rate moving to the point that you can get rid of that anxiety, get rid of that adrenaline. So if you implement those two things, both sides, the body side and the mind side, what does this do for you? Combining these two will make you have sustainable confidence, not just the confidence that happens right when you walk out on stage, for example, and then 3 minutes later you're shaking. It's sustainable. It stays the way through because you have your body that's actually calm and you have your mind to reinforce it. And when your body and your mind are calm, your speech will be 1,000 times better because it's not worrying about all of these random thoughts and you're not shaking visibly as you're speaking. So you'll have a lot more authority when you're speaking, even if you mess up, even if you make a mistake, you'll be a lot more sustained in that. You'll speak slower, you'll have clearer thoughts, which means you can articulate your points a lot clearer, and you can make a lot better solutions to whatever problem it is that you try to solve with your speech. Now, the more reps that you do, the more times that you practice this, the better that you'll get at it. And if you're someone who's ambitious, you're going to be doing these speaking events, these calls, these YouTube videos, these speeches, whatever it is, you're going to be doing them anyway. So you might as well implement this into your speech to make it so you're a little bit less anxious anyway, right? Now, I hope this was helpful for you being able to turn your anxiety into authority whenever you need to speak in one of these high-stakes situations. Click here to watch my last video if you're interested in that. And remember, if you're an entrepreneur or content creator, click the top link in the description to get help with your speaking skills. Outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember, don't overthink it because you're probably a lot better at speaking than you think that you are. Have a good one.